Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing this is when they feel your absence. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Check out my socials for extra content. The links are in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing this is when they feel your absence. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you need them to feel your absence. But when does this actually take place? In today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 moments when your ex feels your absence. So let's get straight into this. And point number 1 is when you surpass the 3rd time zone. Now this initially might sound quite confusing, so please let me explain. This is the theory, my theory, on what I refer to as time zones, and the fact that people will go through, in my opinion, 3 different moments, or as I would like to call it, 3 different time zones, where people start to think about someone or something. And if you can surpass into the 3rd time zone, this is when your ex is really starting to feel your absence. So let's try and explain this a little more. And let's use the analogy of you and maybe a friend, a family member, a pet, whatever it may be, and how you feel their absence. And then you can really understand what I mean about your ex and how they will feel your absence in this regard. So let's just say, for instance, you are expecting someone to come to your house at 10 a.m. It's a friend, it's a family member, whoever it may be. 10 a.m. comes and goes. It's now 10:05. And you're thinking, okay, they're a bit late. I wonder why they're not here on time. Now that is the 1st time zone. You've surpassed the 1st time zone of when you were supposed to have arrived. Your friend in this instance, they were supposed to come at 10 a.m. It's 10:05. And you are now starting to think, where are they? They have kind of never really been late before, but okay, it's only a few minutes. So this is why you are initially thinking about this person and wondering why they're not with you, but you're not incredibly feeling their absence at this time. Now let's imagine that 10:30 rolls around. They're now 30 minutes late. You're thinking to yourself, okay, have they got stuck in traffic? Is there a problem? Is there a misunderstanding of a time they were supposed to be here? Why aren't they here? This is really unlike them. And you start to feel a little bit concerned. You're starting to feel their absence. Now what happens if we then move on to the 3rd time zone? So in this regard, the 1st time zone was 10 a.m. The 2nd was 10:30. Now let's say 11 a.m. passes by and you still haven't seen or heard anything from your friend or whoever it is that was supposed to be coming at 10 a.m. At that point, you're really going to start feeling their absence and you're really going to start feeling concerned. This is when, if you hadn't already, you're probably likely to take action. You might give them a text or a call, asking if they're okay, asking if you had a misunderstanding on the time. Okay, now that is an analogy which can be used in any regard, whether it is a friend, a family member, a work situation, a pet. These are situations where if someone or something isn't in your life when you expect, you are going to have, in my opinion, 3 levels of concern connected to time. Now, in the example we gave, we was discussing between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. Now this is just a rough concept. Of course, it could be any length of time depending on the situation necessary. Now, let's consider this with your ex-bedumper. And when we consider when will they feel your absence, when is your ex-bedumper likely to feel your absence? Well, of course, in that respect, it's not going to be able to connect with between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. No, this is going to be something which is much broader, much longer, but most importantly, it's going to be unique to them. The relationship that you two had, the dynamic, what type of person they are, their attachment style, everything and anything considered will be something very personal to them about when they will feel your absence. But the important point of this, when we're speaking about point number 1, about when your expert-dumper will feel your absence, is when you surpass the third time zone. Because it's the third time zone, in any respect, where somebody really feels it. They really feel the absence and they want to take action. In that example we gave at the beginning of today's podcast about the friend coming round, you to come round at 10 a.m, this was a situation where 10 a.m. was the first time zone, 10:30 the second, 11 a.m. was the third, and once they hadn't shown up at 11 a.m, this person, yourself, whoever, that is when they take the action, make the call, send the text, are you okay, where are you? So if you can see what I'm saying here, your expert-dumper, they will likely feel your absence, they will likely take action once you have surpassed the third time zone. Now we can't say for certain when that would be. There is no definitive moment per se, but what we can say is there are going to be 3 moments, in my opinion, before they're going to want to take action. There's going to be an initial moment, which in your expert-dumper's concept might just be a few weeks. You haven't reached out to them, and they're starting to go, I thought my dumpee would reach out, but they haven't. That's a bit strange, but okay, that's the first time zone. There may be 3 months down the line, you still haven't reached out, and they're thinking, that really is weird. I didn't really want my dumpee to chase me, but I did somewhat expect them to. Where are they? What's going on? And then we might look at 6 months down the line per se, potentially, that could be the third time zone in your expert-dumper's mind. And when that moment happens, that is when they're going to really feel your absence and want to take that action. So I believe when we're speaking about this is when they feel your absence. Well, point number 1 is when you surpass the third time zone. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. And point number 2 is when you start doing new things. So today we're speaking about this is when they feel your absence. And it's really important to say that one of the times when your expert-dumper will feel your absence is when you start doing new things. Because for the first time, they will start to feel that they don't fully know you. Now, your expert-dumper believes they know you inside and out. They believe they know every single thing about you. They know, in their own mind at least, that they can predict your every move. So what happens when they can't? What happens when you start behaving in a way that they didn't expect? Well, of course, this has to be positive. If you start doing things that they didn't expect which were bad, well, that's not going to help your cause. But if you start doing new things that they didn't expect because they were new, this is when your expert-dumper is really going to start wondering, wait, do I actually know my dumpee? They aren't the same person that I thought I knew. And that can be a really powerful thing, dumpees, because sadly, the reality is you were dumped. And if your expert-dumper believes they know you inside and out, then that means they know the person that they don't actually want to be with right now. So, if you want to try to get your ex back, you need to make sure that you don't fall into the trap of being too predictable. Now, this doesn't mean you should change exactly who you are as a person. I'm sure you're a great person. It doesn't mean you can't do the things that you used to do. It doesn't mean you can't do the things that you love. But what it does mean is that you should be adding strings to your bow. You should be doing different things. Trying new things, trying new experiences, making new connections. If and when your expert-dumper finds out about this, and the ways they could are various, friends of a friend, social media, just to name 2, that is when your expert-dumper is going to be really starting to feel your absence, because all of a sudden you're not following the script. You're not doing exactly what they expected you to do. You're not falling in line. And this is why your expert-dumper will start to question, if they, my dumpee, have changed in this way, then maybe, perhaps, they've changed in other ways as well. And of course, as a dumpee, that's what you want your dumper to think. Because, sadly, they ended the relationship. You need them to be thinking you have changed. Even if you think you did nothing really wrong, and perhaps you didn't do much wrong, other than the fact you were not compatible in your dumper's mind. So if you change somewhat, this is going to make your dumper wonder whether or not maybe you're actually a better fit now than you were at the end of a relationship, because remember, you sadly were dumped. Maybe you had a great relationship for the first 5 years, but then things started to go wrong. You need your dumper to start thinking that you're not that person that they ended a relationship with. So if you can start to do new things, if you can live your life to the full, if you can make new connections, if you can do all of these things and more, then your ex-dumper is going to start feeling your absence, because for the first time, they're starting to think, I don't really know this person, in a good way, remember? We're not speaking about, like I said, we're not speaking about negative things, which won't help you whatsoever. We're talking about positive things that you can do, change, experience. If you can do this, they will wonder about you. They will start to query who you are as a person, whether or not you've changed from a person that they ended a relationship with. This is when they start to feel your absence. Ultimately, it could even get to the point of where their curiosity drags them towards you and they actually reach out. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is when an anniversary goes by. So when we're talking about when your ex-dumper will feel your absence, one of the most powerful moments is when an anniversary goes by. Because although your ex-dumper doesn't necessarily want you to reach out, they are expecting you to. Remember, they ended the relationship and therefore they had that power. They knew deep down, at least subconsciously, that they ended something that they wanted to, but they knew that you didn't want to. And therefore they feel that you want them. They feel you pushing them on that pedestal. They feel that you are their safety net. So they are expecting you to give them all of that extra power on anniversaries, because they're thinking, right, my dumpee, I know they miss me. I know they're going to wish me happy birthday. I know they're going to say Merry Christmas. I know they're going to say Happy New Year. Or whatever it may be between you, they are expecting you to reach out. And if you don't, this is where they start to feel your absence, even though, in a somewhat paradoxical way, they don't want you to reach out, they expect you to, and therefore if you don't, this is when they're going to start wondering, kind of missing you somewhat, even in the regard of, I don't really want them to reach out, but why haven't they? I could really do that self-esteem boost. Actually, the last few days, weeks or months haven't been that great for me, and I could have done with that pat on the back, that hi, Merry Christmas, or hello, I hope you have a great birthday, or whatever it may be. They want that feeling of being desired. And they think you are the person who's going to give them that easy hit of dopamine. Okay? And the fact that you're not doing it is going to make them really wonder why not. Why is my dumpee not reaching out? Why aren't they helping me celebrate this anniversary of whatever it is on the calendar? I'm not going to meet them. I don't even really want to talk to them, but I just want to get that feeling of validation. Now, if you as a dumpee don't do this, if you don't wish them happy birthday, if you don't say Merry Christmas, if you don't say Happy New Year, and if you don't say any of the other important dates on the calendar that you and your ex-dumper shared, well, guess what? They're going to start wondering about you. They're going to start feeling your absence. And if they feel your absence, you are one step closer to potentially getting to a point where they may one day want to reach out to you. And if they reach out to you, you are one step closer to possibly getting your ex back. Do you want to? Should you want to? Would it work for you? Well, that is for you to decide moving forward. But if you don't know what you want exactly at this time, having that option is always great. You want options. We all want options. And the option of getting your ex back comes from them reaching out to you, which comes from them missing you, which comes from them feeling your absence.